Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp with a watercolored pineapples card. This features new stamps and dies from the brand new Among the Stars release from Simon Says Stamp. I've created an all pineapple background. I am just obsessed with pineapples lately. I love them. You're seeing them everywhere. And I did a little embossed resist, watercolored the pineapples with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and then added a little sentiment banner on stamped and embossed on vellum, as well as an additional pineapple embellishment before finishing with some sequins and confetti. I'm going to take the pineapple from the new Summertime Animals stamp set. I've also got some of the new basic rectangles. I'm going to die cut the second largest basic rectangle from some Bristol Smooth cardstock. This is my preferred cardstock for using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I just think they blend so smooth and so nice, and I love using it. I'm going to go over the entire surface with a powder tool, and then I am going to use the Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink and simply stamp my pineapple all over the surface of my rectangle, completely filling it in. I know it's a little hard to see here. It's really juicy and wet, this ink is. So when I was stamping this, I actually didn't have to go ahead and apply the white embossing powder each time I stamped, because I was able to see where I was working. I wish that would translate in the video a little better. It's just really hard to see, but I was able to cover the entire thing and then sprinkle embossing powder on the entire card front here. Once I have all of my pineapples stamped, I can go ahead and go in with my white embossing powder and sprinkle that all over the surface. Just got a couple more pineapples, and then you want to make sure and fill in the edges, the corners, just with little bits and pieces here and there. That really translates to make it look like it is an entire pattern. I'm going to just create something for me to kind of hold onto the panel a little bit easier with my little Post-it tape sticky tab. It ended up not working as good as I thought it was going to, but anyway, you can definitely see the patterns start to take shape now as I apply that embossing powder and hold it at an angle. Once I have the surface completely covered, and I'm definitely going to double check and triple check to make sure I have everything covered, I'm going to take my heat tool and making sure that it's really good and heated before I take it to the paper, I'm going to emboss this, and just simply make sure and move the embossing gun back and forth a bunch so that you don't accidentally scorch the paper anywhere. You can see that embossing powder start to melt, and I'll just make sure I get it all embossed really well so that I can go ahead and start watercoloring. This is going to be great for using the embossed resist technique. I'm going to go ahead and lay down a couple of colors. I'm using dark brown and yellow, and all I'm doing is laying down a tiny bit of the color, then taking a watercolor brush pen that has some, it's a pen that has some water in it, and blending that color out. Also for the top, the stem of my pineapples, I'm using a little mid-green for that. So I'm laying down the dark brown, blending it out a little bit with the yellow, and then going in with my water pen and blending it out the rest of the way. That's going to give you that nice variation in color. While I could have definitely just gone ahead and left the background as is, because I think the pineapples show up pretty well against the background. They're a great shape, and they just have a little bit of outline, so I think you can definitely see the background. I am going to go ahead and lay down some color in the background that's going to help those pineapples pop even more. And then I'll add some paint splotches to distress it. Just some fun things to really give it an awesome kind of pattern paper type of look or background. Once I got comfortable with a couple of the pineapples and I liked how they looked, I went ahead and did several at one time, adding the brown, then the yellow, and then blending all of them out. Very quick and easy. Any area that is stamped and embossed will resist the ink. Go ahead and just put in a little bit of green on the tops of all of these, and then take my watercolor brush pen and blend those out as well. And I'm just going to continue this for the rest of the pineapples on my card design. The water is going to give you some nice variation in color, even when you're not using a ton of different colors of markers. I'm taking a little light blue ink now, and I scribbled it on my acrylic block, and I'm picking it up with my water pen. So it's really muted, but you can start to see that there along the right side where I've applied that blue watered down ink, the pineapples pop off the background more than they do on the other side. I just love that light wash of light blue ink to make the background really pop. And I'm going to simply go around the entire thing. You may have to add a little bit more blue ink to your acrylic block and pick it up with your watercolor pen here and there, or watercolor brush there, here and there. But it's very, very light, but it's definitely going to make a huge impact on the design. So I'll just finish going around these last few pineapples. You want to be careful to not get too close to the ink in the pineapples if they're still wet. There was a couple areas that were still a little bit wet there on my background design. Or make sure that the panel is completely dry before you go on to this step. That will help too. I have die cut some vellum using one of the new stitched banner dies, also from this release. And then I am stamping a greeting from the Uplifting Thoughts stamp set using that clear embossing ink from Simon Says Stamp Again. And this time I'm going to heat emboss with gold embossing powder. I love these banners, perfect for adding greetings, lots of different sizes. There's both the plain banners and the stitched banners. I love that. A great addition to the Simon Says Stamp die collection. Basics that are perfect for all kinds of cards. I'm going to take a scrap of my Bristol watercolor cardstock now and stamp my pineapple again. I want to have one pineapple embellishment kind of next to the greeting, to the left of the greeting on my vellum banner there. Again, I'm going to use some white embossing powder and heat set that and color in the image with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I'm using the same colors as before, same technique, everything, except this time, once I have colored in the image and watercolored it and it's completely dry, I'm going to take the coordinating die from the Summertime Animals die collection and die cut that image. I'm going to take a little picket fence and tumbled glass distress paints now. Go ahead and blot those on an acrylic block, and then I'm just going to squeeze some of the water from my watercolor brush pen there into the paint to water it down. And then I'm taking a paintbrush, or a couple of paintbrushes, pretty small paintbrushes, because the smaller the paintbrush, the smaller the little flecks of paint are going to be. And I am going to fleck both the blue and white paints all over the surface of my background to give it a little bit of distressing. I wanted to go with the blue and white inks here today. I thought the blue would really kind of help the blue of the background stand out a little bit, and it's a little bit softer than something darker. Once my background's completely dry, I'm going to cover the back of this panel with some foam adhesive so that it's nice and flat. I am completely covering the back of this panel. Because there was so much watercoloring on this and I did not tape it down while I was watercoloring, it did warp a little bit, but the foam tape is going to help keep it nice and flat, plus give it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to just kind of flip that over, set it aside for just a second. I decided I needed something to really make this background pop. So I grabbed the largest A2 sized rectangle die and die cut a piece of gold metallic paper using that, and then covered the front of a top fold card base with that panel. I'm going to peel off the backing on the foam adhesive and pop my pineapple background right in place. And I think that metallic background is just the perfect touch to really make the pineapples stand out. Plus the gold embossing in the greeting stand out as well. I did attach it on the left side there, but it was still popping up a bit, so I added some little dots of adhesive behind the embossing in the greeting, and then put something heavy on that until the glue completely dried. I used some foam adhesive dots behind the pineapple and attached it right there to the left of my card. And I'm going to finish my design with a scattering of the Pretty Pink Posh gold star mini confetti pieces, as well as the sparkling clear sequins in both the 4mm and 6mm sizes. To attach the confetti pieces, I like to use the Ranger Multi Matte Medium, and I'm using the quick stick tool to pick those up and put those in place. Instead of using the sticky end, I like to use the clear end. Surprisingly, it picks up those little pieces really easily, and because it's not sticky, they're not going to stick to it. I've had that trouble a little bit with the sticky end. These little pieces are so teeny tiny that sometimes they don't transfer as well. For my sequins, I'm using Zot's Bling Glue Dots. If I don't have to use a liquid adhesive, I don't. I prefer to use something else simply to not have that mess. And I'm going to add that scattering kind of along the same line there of the confetti. Once I have all of those little embellishments in place, my card is going to be finished. Thanks for watching this video showcasing stamps and dies from the Simon Says Stamp Among the Stars release. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.